Bye.
Welcome back to the BG Perform podcast, the first episode of season 2. Bringing it back with a new set of episodes, a new, I guess, topic or I wouldn't say topic, but I guess a theme for the next season of approach. Yeah, next season of the podcast. And for this season, to give you a little rundown, we're going to be talking about the coach's playbook. And the main idea behind this, or thing that I want you guys to take away from this season, is coaches who want to master their craft, elevate their athletes, improve their business, and really like build a career that lasts inside of coaching. And I think that while this might be directed at coaches, I think that a lot of people inside the fitness space might get some value from this. I think there's a lot of people on the client end that could get some value from this, but we are in this season going to be talking a lot about coaches who are in the field, in the trenches, on a daily basis, going through the grind of being a coach, and basically how I've worked my way through some of this stuff, how Jerry's worked his way through some of this stuff, and just giving thoughts, right? I don't think any of us claim to have the answers on most of this stuff in general, but I think it's important that we talk about this stuff, we dive into these topics, because as coaches, it's really hard to filter out a lot of the stuff nowadays that kind of, goes on. And I want to build a system for you guys, right? And at the start of season 1, we talked about the BG Perform system from like a client point of view and what that looks like starting from the beginning and building your way up. And I want this season to kind of be very specific towards coaches. So, me and Jerry sat down, really kind of planned out what this is going to look like. We have some cool things we're going to be adding into the podcast this time around. We have a new layout, a couple of cool aspects and topics that we're going to be throwing into that I'm excited to get into today. And we're going to dive into that shortly. But Jerry, how was the week? How was training? How are you feeling? Tell the people.
The week has been good. I have a stupid back injury from when I was like 14 that like comes and goes. Brandon knows about it. I got double bounced on a trampoline. I landed on my chest. I kicked the back of my head. Full scorpion. I made a circle, sling ring style. I was teleported into a dimension of pain. But essentially every once in a while it'll lock up and I got to pay a little extra attention to it. Usually happens when I don't get really good sleep. And last week was one of those weeks where my sleep was just off. Trained anyway. Ended up tweaking my back. So had to take the foot off the gas pedal a little bit last week, make some minor adjustments to the program, but we're back in the full swing of things this week, feeling good, and just doing what we can to continue growing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. How about you?
Training's been great. I have a Garmin watch, and I bought one that was pretty expensive. I didn't realize how expensive it was because I got it used. And it's been giving me a couple problems charging, and I think it finally shit the bed. Hasn't been charging. So I got this new one, but it's a little small. I'm kind of digging it at the moment, but
I like it because it looks like an actual watch.
Yeah.
It doesn't just look like a band.
Yeah, it's a lot smaller than the one I was wearing. But we're going to try that tomorrow, so I'm kind of excited about that.
Wait, how big was the other one?
It was big. It was like a 45 millimeter watch.
Damn.
So it was like one of those fat ones.
It's a house on a wrist.
I know. I kind of like the feeling of this. It looks a little bit more sleek. It feels way lighter. That was something that was bothering me. But training's been good. I changed things up a little bit myself. I've been working with a coach, just trying to improve some programming efficiency, and because of that, I've been improving some stuff myself inside the programming, working on a couple different, combos of movements and being a little bit more efficient inside the gym so I can go to jiu-jitsu a little bit more. I have decided I'm going to do a half marathon in November. So me and Nick are going to be doing that, hopefully with our friend Sam. And nice. So I've been kind of getting ready for that. Lifting as always, 7 days a week, just getting fucking jacked. Let's go.
There you go.
But yeah, so it's been good. And I think one of the things I've been focusing on a lot that we're going to get into in today's episode is, like I just mentioned, with learning. I think coaches, well, today's episode is going to be on why most coaches plateau and how you can fix that. And I think with our first segment, we're going to kind of talk about a from the floor type of story, whether it be this week or at any point in the coaching career with something that makes sense, of why most coaches plateau. And I think there's a couple reasons that I want to kind of go over in this first one. But the first story from the floor I want to talk about is I just started working with a guy who is about to be 70, had heart surgery, and is just getting back into like the swing of things with fitness. And I might have talked about this last week, or last time we filmed, which was a couple weeks ago. But I just started working with him, and it's been such an eye opener on like fitness, and it's been such an eye opener on just having to start someone from like zero. And I haven't done it in a while, and I've gone from this aspect of like training high level athletes or like championship level fighters who, if you told them getting hit by a car would help them win, they would get hit by a car, right? And there's just not really that like
Find the nearest car immediately.
yeah, like there's not an off switch. It's just like if I told you eating a shoe would win you a championship, they'd figure out a way to eat the shoe, right? And those types of individuals, I tend to think are a little bit easier to work with now, like this late or this at this point in my career.
This far in.
Yeah, and I think with the guy that I've been working with now, it's been such an eye opener because there's so much thinking that really had to like I planned his first couple sessions, and I was like, wow, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. If I'm gonna do this, I have to do this with it. If I'm gonna do this movement, this needs to be assisted. I need to add this, and I need to watch out for this. And there's a little couple things that really aren't like movement related, but more like mental related that I need to, watch out for as well. And I think where I'm going with this is like, I think a lot of coaches plateau early on in their career because they don't give themselves the opportunity to have that like range of clients, right? And I've always heard the idea of like you need to be a niche coach or like you need to have like a specific niche and you need to stick with what you do. And to a certain extent, I agree. Like if you're good at something, stick with it, right? But I just think it's so important to have, and everything's like a bell curve to me, right? Everything's like there's extremes on both ends, and then there's the bell curve in the middle where like a majority of what you're going to be doing for your work is. But having those both ends of the spectrum covered, like that is what helps you not plateau, right? And I've talked about this a lot with Jerry. I've talked about this a lot with other people. Like when I was traveling with the guy that I was working with, one of the biggest things I struggled with was not having that variety and only dealing with like high level fighters and not having that like average day-to-day client and not having that person who just wants to feel better, who just wants to learn how to use equipment, who wants to get over a fear of like, hey, I just had heart surgery and I haven't stepped foot in a gym since. And like, I need to figure this out. Like that's such a different experience as a coach that like, it's so awesome for me to have this again. It's been like invigorating as a coach. And I know a lot of people might think, well, you were working with like high level fighters and now you're back and all. It's like, I don't know that I've been like looking forward to sessions as much as I have with this guy as of recently. And like, it's taught me so much and kind of given me that a little bit of that spark that I was missing, like back in coaching, because it is so important for me to have the understanding of like, hey, if I'm going to be a great coach, I need to be able to cover both sides of the spectrum, right? And today was just like a really good example because when we were talking, me and him, we were in the middle of our session, we were just like about resting in between a set, and he was like, like this has been really, really good, and we've been working just about 3 weeks together. So in that time, there's not going to be any major changes to the body, but there is going to be some energy changes. There are going to be some, learning changes or habit changes that are starting to come about. And one of the things he mentioned to me was like, I really look forward to this every single time that I come in. And like, I haven't looked forward to something like this in a while. And part of it is, he's like, a big part of it is because of you and obviously because of the training, but like you specifically, like you've been patient, you've been understanding. And like, that was something I was like, felt amazing. Right. And that felt amazing for the fact that I know I haven't had that in so long with someone who just appreciates fitness, right? It's not there is no end goal at the end. There is an end goal, but there's no timetable. There's no like raw. It's just like, hey, I just want to get used to the gym. Like I just want to step foot in the gym and learn how to do this without fearing for my life anymore. And it's been great. And I think, like to sum this up, so I'll let Jerry talk. Is like, I really believe that most coaches plateau because they don't give themselves an opportunity to actually coach those types of individuals who truly need a coach and not just like a workout plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the biggest reasons that we do this too is when you get people who are like, I'm looking forward to this every single day. Every single day I come in, it's like the thing I'm looking forward to. It really solidifies why we do this. Like we're making an actual, like, not to be corny, we're making a change in this person's life that's making a really big impact on their day-to-day life, and even the way that they look at fitness changes a lot too. And I like that. But on the I guess on the other side of fitness, you could also have one of the jobs that I had in the industry was I was working at a big box gym, and at this gym it was very much entry level for a lot of coaches. It was their first job, like they got their CPT or their very first certification, and they just jumped right into this and kind of got started. And when I was there, I was just racking up hours. My schedule filled super quick, and I was easily doing the most sessions. Like I think there was 1 month I had like 305 sessions in that month, something insane.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, I know. It was, and I was broke at the time too, which shows they really don't want you to progress there, but I plateaued really quickly because you get to a certain point where you're working a certain amount of hours and then you can't really do much more because you're just dying and all of your time is spent there anyway. But I got to the point where I was the coach who started there, and they were like, oh, this is an easy hire. Like, he's been in the industry for a little bit. We're going to take him on. And then, again, my schedule filled up so fast that all the other coaches were always, like, asking me the questions. The head personal trainer, their position was basically just sales. So that's their main job is to, like, take in consultations, try to sell personal training, that type of thing.
By the way, this gym sucked. I went there once in a different state.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let me just go work out. They
Which
said,
that's not normal.
I know.
That's a very
that was
weirdly
just so
run
annoying. Like, still
facility.
pisses me off to this day. I went into this gym. I don't care. It was Vasa. Vasa sucks. I went into this gym with my sister in Arizona, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you can get your first day for free, but I have to take you through a tour of the gym." I was like, "I don't want it." I was like, "Can you just say you did it?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"No, I have to take you through a tour." I was like, I don't understand. I don't want to do this. Like, I will tell you, I will sign whatever you want me to sign. I do not want to do this. And they were like, oh, well, then you can't work out for free. I was like, okay, how much is it to work out? She's like, $15. I was like, cool, I'll pay it. Leave me alone. And I was just so angry. I was like, why would you not just let me work out for free?
That's a terrible model because that turns people away. Whoever's running that facility needs to get fired.
Anyways,
because that was
sorry. Go ahead.
Basically, if like somebody came in, like actually when I signed up there as the gym to work out at before I got hired, they were like, all right, so we could take you on a tour of the facility. I was like, I'll just skip it. Just point me where the squat racks are, all the leg equipment, and then I'll figure everything else out because I had legs that day. They were like, all right. And I was like, I know exactly which membership I want too, so we could just jump right to that. And he was like, makes my job easy. Exactly. So I don't know who the hell's running the facility you went to, but they suck.
Yeah.
Also, that's like very off-putting. Which is
I don't care. I'm here for a day. I was like, I'm here for a day. I was like, I'm telling you, I'm
sign
leaving.
up with you if you're gonna force me to walk around the facility with you and have a chat. That's so weird. But anyway, I was the coach that even like the head personal trainer, who again is more sales, would run meetings either based on sales or based on training methods, whatever it might be, in order to make training more efficient. And I was always the guy to like lead it with them. And it's like, oh, you have a question? Go to Jerry. Jerry knows it. I'll go to Jerry. And I realized quickly that I knew that I was the most experienced there and most knowledgeable, but I got to a point where it almost made me lose motivation because it's just like, what am I here for? I have all this knowledge, but what am I doing with it? Like, I'm helping other people. I can barely help myself because I'm working, like, I was working 40 hours there, and then I was working another, like, 15, 20, or 25 in another gym. So it was just one of those things that I started to feel like I was plateauing because there was nowhere to go and I hit a ceiling. But because I had no more hours left in the week, I was stuck. So I kind of accepted the plateau and I didn't know where to go from there until I just decided to take a leap for myself. Started diving more into our online stuff, diving into personal training on my own with my own prices, my own everything, not in that facility. And it was really eye-opening because a lot of people will get stuck. A lot of people will get stuck in the facility that they're working in because they feel like they don't have a next step. So for me, my next step would be to put more time into my own business. But because I didn't have any time, it was just an endless positive feedback loop where I was like, all right, I'm going to keep working, try to make money. Maybe if I have a few minutes, I'll go over here and get my stuff in. Turns out that was really hard to do. So I decided to just leave and dive in. And I think that a lot of people will plateau simply because they feel stuck where they're at and are afraid to make the next move.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's something that we've both talked about and recently we've both been through is like, you know, for myself, again, like I made a change and I made a decision to step away from, you know, a top 5 fighter in the world because it just wasn't fulfilling me anymore and I wasn't getting what I needed from it, you know? And like yes, a lot of people may see that as like a step back career wise or step back coaching wise or whatever. But to me, it's like, you know, I'm in a better position mentally. I'm in a better position for my health. I'm in a better position for, you know, my free time, my hobbies. I get to do the things that I love now. And for me, it's really important that like that is the main thing I work on because that is what creates consistency. That is what creates, you know, growth for me because not for nothing, but like, I don't want to make it seem like with MMA, I've done what I wanted to do with it a lot of times. And like, it almost became a little bit like monotonous for me in that way where I was just the only thing that I was doing because there was no change, you know what I mean? And when you work with somebody for 4 years, it's like a long time. And it's like, there's a lot of the same things that occur there. And you have to try to find those ways to keep like the novelty and it's just a lot, you know? And while there was a lot of good and a lot of novelty inside of like the day to day, sometimes the training became a little bit monotonous. And it was one of those things where I needed that break or I needed that time with a gym, for example, or one of my normal clients who's just like, hey, I'm trying to get fit, or hey, I got a police test I'm trying to train for, or hey, I got, you know, like I said, I'm trying to recover from a heart surgery and I'm just trying to get back into the gym. Like that really, like if you have that thing and kind of the topic of today that we're going to kind of get into, like I said, is, you know, why does this happen to so many coaches? Because I think like we get kind of caught up in where we're at. Like Jerry just said, we get caught up in the moment and we stop looking for ways to get uncomfortable because, hey, in the short term, we might lose a little bit of money. Hey, in the short term, we might lose a client or two. But in the long run, we're going to become a better coach. And in theory, like in my eyes, at least, I'm trying to become the best version of myself that I could possibly be. Right. And with that comes with taking a couple swings and misses, taking a couple risks, moving myself to Florida, moving myself to Nashville after owning a gym, moving from Nashville to Florida to take that next step, moving from Florida to training with Ian full time to take that step, moving from Ian to coming back to Albany with no and having to start from zero essentially, and just making it work. And that's all, right? And I think that's where it starts to come down to it's impossible to plateau if you're continuing to push yourself into uncomfortable situations, right? Mm-hmm. And as a coach, it might not be uncomfortable where it's like, hey, I'm going to give up all my clients and change everything. But it's like, hey, you know, maybe I need to find somebody I'm not comfortable with, or maybe I need to learn from somebody that I don't know the ins and outs of what they're doing, right? Like, and part of the reason I've been working with a coach as of recently is because I want to be better at the mixed modal side of fitness, which I don't have a ton of experience in. I've trained it a lot, but I don't have a ton of experience myself coaching it. And I want to be able to work with CrossFit athletes and maybe High Rocks. I haven't decided yet because High Rocks is...
You've been running a lot, dude.
Well, running too. I've been running a lot, but...
Well, I mean, High Rocks, you know.
High Rocks
A lot
is
of running.
I'm not gonna say it
Say
on
what's
here.
on your mind.
I'm
How
not
do you
gonna say
feel
it
about
on
that?
here. You don't want that. Did you see
It
that
breaks out
UFC
both
fighter
your
the other day?
What?
Did you see the UFC fighter last night? He was on the Contender Series.
No.
Oh my god, bro! You gotta go listen to it. He's just like Hulk Hogan, the end of the uh his post fight interview, like Macho
Hulk
Man Randy
Hogan?
Savage, except just like you just gotta go listen to it.
All right, yeah, we're gonna
Listen to it
find that
after.
post
Yeah, yeah,
podcast.
yeah, yeah. That's fucking
I'm
hilarious.
trusting that we shouldn't say what he said
No,
on the
100%.
podcast.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
definitely not. But so I forgot what was I saying?
Mixed modal training,
So like, and
working with other people.
I'm wanting to learn that side of it. So like, I'm finding a person to learn from, right?
Hmm.
And I'm finding someone who's really good at it and kind of has the life or the systems that I need to implement into my business, and that's what I'm doing, right? And that's how you don't plateau, right? And I think that most coaches, like, why their skills stop improving is because they get to this point where they get the clients, they get the money, and they just coast, right? And they
Hmm.
get to a point where it's like, I got enough to pay my bills, I got enough to whatever. They're not really happy, they're not really fulfilled. It's just kind of like they're going through this hamster wheel of the same clients, same people, and it shows in your coaching. Really, like, it really shows in your coaching when you're training the same person for a long time and there's really no changes or excitement or novelty. And some people like that, some people don't. And I don't think it means like, I don't think it means you change who you are just to be different. But I think it's like, hey, if you're learning new ways and new systems of training or new ways to do things, you know, there should be implements of like growth inside of that, right? It doesn't mean that you're gonna forget about the principles, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you're gonna just move on from the things work, but there may be changes. There might be goal changes. There might be you training for new things. There might be clients being inspired, like these types of things where you're learning new avenues of fitness, or in our case, coaching, and
Hmm.
being able to implement them on a broader scale across coaching in general, right? And I think, to me, that idea of like, hey, I'm a coach, I'm making enough money, I think I just need to kind of like coast, is one of the worst aspects of coaching. And that's why we get to these places where skills stop improving and coaches don't really ever take that next step into their career.
Yeah. On just to build on that point, I think about the time of when my coaching knowledge accelerated the most, and it was when I was around other people who were also just as driven, but they knew more than me, so I had people to learn from. And those two things are really important because obviously drive is huge. If you don't have a drive to like continue to better yourself as a coach, chances are you're going to plateau.
Yeah.
And then the other reason that being around people who know more than you is really important is because the day that you stop learning and the day that you as a coach stop becoming a student of coaching, that's the day that you just stop growing and you plateau. I think no matter what you're doing in your coaching career, you should be trying to find something new to learn, whether it's new methods, working with different types of people, or even like what maybe another certification or a specialty, right? So something that you can dive further into and learn more. That's when you start to like really prevent the plateau.
Yeah, and I'm gonna take it a step further, because this is literally why I created like the Coach Connect. But like, it's not so much about being in the room with people who like know more than you. It's just people who are going to challenge your thoughts, right? And I think this is like
Yes.
a
Yeah.
big thing that people miss out on, because it's so like ego driven, and it's so like it's taken as criticism, right? But if there's people in the same room as you who are willing to challenge your thoughts, like, you should be, to a certain extent, you should be grateful, right? Not just like
Hmm.
challenging your thoughts to be like a dick, but like challenging your thoughts in a right way, or like, hey, why do you do that, right? I remember a couple times in my coaching, I've had that question of like, why are we doing this? And it's like, oh, well, it's because I've always done this. And it's like, well, no, like, why are we doing it? And I'm like, I don't even know if I've ever had to explain this to somebody, right? And it's like, that helps me grow, right? Like
It's illegal for you to ask me that.
yeah. Like, it's one of those things where it's just, and of course I have like, I have an answer for why I do it, but it's just like, in the moment, I'm like, well, wow, well, I don't know if anybody's ever asked me that. And like, I have to think of like, well, why do I do this? Right. And like, the idea of having your thoughts challenged on a daily basis is just like, and again, it doesn't mean it literally, this does not mean that like someone's coming at you and being like, you're wrong. This just means like, hey, why do I do that? And just reinforces the idea of like, this is why I do this, right? This is why I do a certain amount of sets. This is why I do a certain amount of reps. This is why I like this movement. This is why I don't like this movement. And, you know, because I've always said this, but there really are no right answers in fitness. There are answers that work better than others. But like in some capacity, like a lot of this stuff works no matter what, right? And I think that like as long as you're getting your thoughts challenged as a coach and you're showing up on a daily basis doing the work across that spectrum or across that, I guess that bell curve, like there's no way you're ever going to plateau, because it's just not going to be possible, because you're going to be finding new ways to say, well, why do I believe this? This is why I believe this, and I'm sticking with it. Or it's going to be like, hey, why do I believe this? Oh, maybe I need to rethink this, and then you're going to change your thoughts into what actually makes sense for you, right? And you're just going to grow, and it's only going to allow you to grow. So like, I think like if we can kind of summarize this into like 3 key areas that most coaches ignore, right? I would say one is obviously not getting their thoughts challenged enough, and kind of like in the same context that Jerry described, which is, you know, it's being around smart people, being around people that ask the right questions, being around people that are willing to, you know, again, not criticize you, but make you think about what you do, right? Number 2 is training across that broad spectrum, having clients from all different walks of life, and still having that main like, hey, this is my bread and butter, this is what I'm good at, but trying to step outside your comfort zone with athletes, trying to step outside your comfort zone with beginners or people who've never stepped foot in the gym, because all of those are going to help you as a coach and help you create a system that you know works at all levels. And that's what you want to be as a coach. You want to be able to talk to the beginner, talk to the elite, and still have those middle of the road clients that you want to work with on a daily basis. What would we say is like the third key area?
I've thought about this, and I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but ego. Like, ego is literally, I think that's one of the biggest, the amount of people, even we see it now on Instagram too, the amount of people who call out other people for one thing or the other, and the amount, dude, we were talking about it briefly, I think last episode of last season, or maybe episode 7, but these people who call everybody out and are like, why are you doing it this way? This is stupid. Let me tell you why. And then they give whatever reason. And then the other person will rebuttal with another video and be like, listen to this idiot. And they're pointing. It's like, dude, we need to stop arguing and have this ego that we're always right, and maybe just have conversations. And I think networking and having conversations and not letting your ego get ahead of you is one of the biggest areas that coaches need to improve. I mean, sometimes like I'm pretty open-minded, but sometimes I hear something, I'm like, that's stupid.
Yeah,
of course, like,
of course.
I feel like I'm right on this one. And there are times where I could definitely be completely right and the other guy's out of their mind. But for the most part, I think that we could take something from everybody and really build a solid industry instead of the one that's kind of getting torn apart right now by everybody's egos, because coaching for likes, like we talked about last season, that's pretty big right now. So everyone's feeling this sense of validation. Look at me, I'm right, follow me. When I think we need to prop each other up instead of trying to push other people down to get ahead of them.
Yeah, because we're all going to need to band together to beat these clankers.
Dude,
these BOBs, these bucket of bolts.
Battery bloods.
I'm not going to ever be working out with no battery bloods. It's one of my favorite.
Wire backs.
It's one of my favorite memes.
The deep voice, too.
I love when it changes, because it's like normal, and then he goes into these clankers.
Back in my day, our waiters were humans, not these crazy battery bloods.
But seriously, we're all going to have to band together to destroy AI.
Yeah, dude, Skynet's coming.
Yeah, so
scary stuff.
Hopefully we can all come together at some point, throw all those egos out the window, and defeat AI before it takes over all of our brains and we can never think for ourselves again. See you guys next time. No, I'm joking. Anyways.
Good luck. Don't die.
So our next segment we're going to get into is the coach's hot take. And essentially, this is what it says it is. We got a hot take. We got something we're
what
coming
it
at
is.
you. It's what it is. We got a hot
Today
take
on
coming
Drunk
at you
Coaches
with-
on a Podcast.
We're going to be talking about just a topic each episode that we think is something that needs to be talked about or called out, right? And I think for me, this is a tough one. And I think I'm only talking about this from experience because it's something that I've seen more and more as I've gotten older, and how I've realized more and more throughout, my years as a coach is like, most of us learn everything we need early on in our career in regards to like the basics, right? And I think it's really important that we don't become information hoarders, right? Like, and I say this after having just said everything that I just said before this, but I do think at some point we have to be really efficient with the information that we do have, and we have to use it, right? Getting the amount of information is really important, but understanding also at some point that like, hey, I have information that I need to utilize before I can go and seek new information, right? Because what I think happens a lot of times is people just go and find information because it feels good to learn, and it feels good to have that thing of like, hey, I just took something in that's new and exciting and I know what it is now, as opposed to being like, hey, I know what I'm doing. Like, let me see what I can do with what I already know for a little bit, right? And I look at this, if I could give this a fitness example, is like, there are so many ways, for example, that you can change a rear foot elevated split squat, right? Or a goblet squat, or, a bench press. Like, there's so many different technical ways that you can change it, that you don't need to do a banded bench press from a rack, or squats on a band, or whatever you see that goes on in the world nowadays of fitness. It's like, there's so much that you can change on the basics, and there's so many different ways that you can take it. It's like, when the time comes that you do want to progress, if you explore that to the nth degree or whatever it gets to, you're going to know which direction you need to head in or what you need to learn. So it's a little bit more efficient in that process, right? And I think a lot of people skip that filtering phase of the information that they do take in. And on the other end of that, say like, okay, well, like, I understand a lot of this, but I still don't quite understand like athletic training, right? Or I still don't understand postpartum, or I still don't really understand female training, or I don't really understand how to train a basketball player, whatever it might be, right? And too many people are just going and saying like, cool, certification, degree, master's, doctorate, certification, what do you call it? The 2-year one.
What?
The 2-year degree.
One? Oh, associates?
And they're grabbing everything that they can just to learn, right? And I think part of this comes into what I'm going to recommend for you guys at the end in one of our last segments. But I just think, again, there's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of great coaches out there who are teaching a lot of good things. I think at just some point you have to take a step back. And this isn't to say don't learn more. It's just be efficient with the information that you do have, and don't get sucked into the hamster wheel of like next certification, right? Because I think all the studying is great, but I think we do need to kind of test what we've built, right? You're not going to continue to build a house on like House of Cards or House of Toothpicks and not understand like, hey, like at some point I got to check this and see if it's good, right? Like, as eventually it's going to be like, oh, I just got all this information and now I don't know where to start with it, and it's overwhelming. And then what do you do, right? And I think it's really important that we go back and reflect. I think we go back and again challenge thought, and we say, how can I utilize this right now? See where it goes, and then go see the information that you need. So I guess my hot take is, don't become an information hoarder, filter that out. And what I mean by that is like, be careful of that whole go and get the next certification, go and get the next degree, go and get the next whatever it is, to feel good in the moment, but not actually progress as a coach.
I have an athletics hot take that you may disagree with, actually.
All right, let's hear it.
You might be like, yeah, actually, you're right. But you also might be like, shut up, Jerry. Stupid ass. So, the sports are stupid. No, I'm kidding.
These clinkers don't belong in our sports.
We need to have a robotics league. Humans don't belong in sports anymore. I'm actually human rips off face.
Actually, just to kind of, not to cut you off, but I saw this video of this robot like boxing with a kid.
Did it get whooped?
No, well, kind of, but someone commented and made a good point. He's like, this is the worst that robot's ever going to be at fighting.
Actually,
God damn.
It's just going to get better. Without even having to program that one, you'll just take whatever the other one learned and jam a cord into the neck of the new one or in the back of the head. He's going to learn everything.
Download John Jones onto a metal frame.
Yeah.
See ya.
Rizbot in Texas with the freaking cowboy hat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
He's going to
yeah.
be fighting everybody on the street.
Exactly. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Running like this. Those things run real stupid, dude. I love it. Stiff as hell. But there was a video of LeBron lifting again, and he was doing this like super wide stance, snatch grip, like sumo deadlift.
Yeah.
And everybody is like attacking the coach in the comments and doing all this stuff. And absolutely like, what are you doing? Like, I agree on that. But also, everyone's acting like LeBron could be worlds better with different training. And this is one of those situations where people just need to shut up. Like,
Yeah.
LeBron could literally go into the gym and kiss every single 45-pound plate and be like, I'm done, and go home. He's still LeBron.
Yeah.
He is one of the greatest athletes to ever step foot on this planet. I don't care what he's doing in the gym.
He's better than Jordan.
Whatever. I don't care what he's doing in the gym. He's LeBron James, dude. Like, he's a monster. He's gonna dominate his sport. He's been dominating in his sport for years, and he's technically outside of his prime.
Yeah.
What is he, 40? Was he 41, 42? How old is he now?
He's 40. I think he's 40, but he's been
40?
outside of his prime for the last like 4 years.
Yeah,
5
and he's
years, really.
still crushing it.
Someone said there's a tweet from about LeBron in 2010, and I think he was I think he was 30. So this is 10 years ago. So 2015. It was 2015. I think he had just turned 30, and they were like, "Thank God LeBron's 30. There can't be that much more like time left of him."
Psych. 10 years down the line, he's still murdering it. So like that. By the time everyone hears this too, it's probably going to be talked about. Someone's probably going to have the same hot take I have right now, and it's going to be out for a little bit. But my point being, some people just have it, right?
Yeah.
Like the LeBrons, the Jordans, I think Connor McDavid, I don't even think he does strength and conditioning. Like, some people are born to just, like, Mike Tyson could probably do anything and he was going to be the best. If you're in that top tier, it doesn't matter. Like, everyone's focusing on this guy. It's like, okay, LeBron might be doing stupid shit in the gym. His trainer might be out of his mind for having him do it. But let's look at everybody else and talk about why they shouldn't be doing this instead of roasting LeBron. Because I guarantee you go on the court and you 1v1 LeBron. It doesn't matter what he's doing in the gym. He's gonna kill you.
Yeah, and I think
So my hot take is just like, mind your business with the top 1% and just worry about everybody else.
I was just having this conversation the other day, and the coach that I work with, Sam, we were having this conversation of like software versus hardware, right? And software is more of that skill component of the sport, and hardware is obviously like the physicality of the sport. And I was talking to him because I was like, when I look at MMA, because I'm going to tie this back into what you're saying, because I totally agree. When you look at MMA, right? Ian is someone who couldn't string together like 6-7 strict pull-ups because he's so long, and it's just like his body's so long, and his he can do it together. It just wasn't like, it wasn't simple. It wasn't just like this. Like, he wasn't just going through it, right? Regardless of if Ian could do 4 pull-ups, he would still kick you in the face. And it's like, does it matter at the end of the day? Like, it's not to say that it doesn't matter. It's just like, at the end of the day, like you said, some people just got it. It doesn't matter if Ian benched 155 pounds or he benched 100 pounds. He could still kick you in the mouth. And from 5 feet away, and there's not much you could do about it. And it's like, obviously at certain components or aspects of the game, you want to have as much as you can. And like for Ian, for example, we did all this stuff. We covered all the bases. But at the end of the day, Ian is Ian and LeBron is LeBron. And you want to just keep them healthy. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And like literally
Yeah.
like
Literally don't injure them. Make sure they stay healthy and you're good.
keep them healthy, keep them focused, keep them able to practice their sport because that is what they are amazing at. They
Mm-hmm.
don't they don't need to be winning titles or doing that much in the weight room. They just need to be a little bit stronger, create that adaptation, get that resistance training stimulus, and then get out. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people nowadays don't have clients and they're online talking about people who have clients, right? And it's very clear what's going on, and it's very clear that like the people who are attacking, like could LeBron probably get a trainer that does a little bit more efficient stuff, right? Yeah. But also, how many people have actually worked with someone who's 6'7"?
Yeah. Yeah. He's a monster.
Or 6'9", whatever he is. He's like 6'10", maybe.
I thought he was 6'8". I don't
whatever
know.
it might be.
I will
Like,
find out right
that's
now.
a whole different animal. Like your Texas squat method is not going to work on 6'9" LeBron James.
Yeah, he's
or
6'9". Yeah.
yeah. So like, it's just like it doesn't work the same, right? And it's like these average coaches who don't have any experience at the highest level with athletes, they don't know. They don't know. They're not going to know until you get that opportunity. And to get that opportunity, you need to have that awareness of like, hey, I'm not the main character here. Like, I don't know. I'm keeping him healthy, right? And like, again, I've talked to some of the best coaches in the world, and all of them say the same thing, right? It's all the same thing. It's like, yeah, like we work on general practices. We keep these guys healthy. We make sure that they're moving. But at the end of the day, the weight room's not winning them what they're doing, right? They need to be on the court. They need to be in the ring. They need to be on the field. They need to be doing their sport, right? And that's what's going to get them better. And and realistically, a lot of that adaptation comes from there, right? That's when they're giving 100%. That's what they're interested in. That's what they're good at. So they're going to get that stimulus or that adaptation from there. And the weight room is just to kind of like fill the buckets on everything else that they need, right? So that conversation, I think a lot of coaches like, and this was another big conversation when Tyrese Halliburton, who plays for the Pacers, tore his Achilles. They were looking at he tore his Achilles, and then millions of coaches popped up saying, this wouldn't happen if you worked with me in my program. And it's like, bro, like you have no clue, like nothing was going to stop that.
That was in the finals too, right?
Yeah, when it was on Game 7 of the finals after he had a calf strain. And you're telling me, like, what are you going to do that's going to stop that? Like, please tell me your magic program with your, whatever rep set scheme.
Kettlebell swaps on a single leg.
Yeah, exactly. And it's stupid shit like that from these coaches who don't actually have high level clients who realize like I can't control that, right? I can't, And that was something that I had to talk to Ian about because Ian was always like, hey, I want to be bulletproof. Like, I don't want to get injured. And I was like, bro, like, I can't fucking stop.
I can't make you
You literally, like, get hit with baseball bats for a living. Like, I can't stop you from getting injured. I can make it as, like, efficient as possible. And while I was working with him, like, I did that. And he never missed a fight. The only time he missed a fight was because he got pneumonia. But, like, he was always ready. He was always, we had 10 fights together in the UFC. And he never missed one. He was always healthy. He was always training. He was always like on point. And that's what you do. And that's when athletes, that's when you start to get these higher level athletes to take steps above what their capacity is when you realize, hey, I got to take a step back and I got to be like, where I got to look from like back here. And I got to say like, how can I fill these buckets and like, just kind of play like the puppet master over top of like, hey, he's going to go training. And then like, what do I need to take away from training today after that sparring session? Oh, he had a little bit of a lighter day. Let's not run him into the ground. Maybe we're just going to pull back a little bit, right? And that's where you start to play these little like, instruments essentially, and you make the whole song come together, and then that's when you win, right? And that's when you get 40,000 points for LeBron. That's when you get, except for the last fight, but like 9-1 together in the UFC, or Amanda winning 2 belts, or Paul having another opportunity at a belt, or Dustin having opportunities with Connor, all this stuff. Like you don't just get that from becoming this hard-headed coach who's ego driven, right? You get it from understanding where you're at, and like Jerry just said, they have it. It doesn't matter if realistically what they're doing, they have it, right? We help them, we get them a little bit closer, we keep them healthy, but at the end of the day, like some of these guys would have it with us or without us, if that makes sense. That was good. That was nice. I like that. That was a good call out. Nice.
Thank you.
So
I needed to say it. Get it off the mind.
the next segment, last two segments we got, the drill is going to be a weekly segment where we're going to talk about something we can give you guys as something that can be implemented today from the podcast that you can take home and do. And one of the things that I do personally is a CEO hour, right? So essentially what I do each week, at the end of each week, I take an hour and I have a layout of things that, like, for myself as a business owner, as a coach, as a friend, as a significant other, as a son, all that stuff. And I kind of go through that and I answer a bunch of questions. I answer it within my values. I answer it within the things that I have set for the week that I want to accomplish, or the things that I want to do inside the business. And one of the things I want you guys to kind of take away from this conversation today is, if you want to stop plateauing, or if you feel like you've plateaued, or if you feel like maybe you're not plateauing, but you're getting close to that point, something like this could really be literally implemented. Like, after you listen to this, go back, make your own thing on ChatGPT, or make your own questions in general, create a layout, and have something you can go back to check in with yourself, right? Because I've realized, like, I have a planner right here that I kind of like have my weekly stuff in, and that CEO hour really allowed me to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, like, what are my goals for this week coming up? What are the things, right? What am I living with autonomy in my life? Am I living with purpose? Am I living with mastery? Am I living with health? Am I living with influence? Am I living with all these things in my life? If so, I'm giving specific examples of, like, when did I live with autonomy in my life this week? When did I not live with autonomy in my life this week? What are the three things that I want to accomplish? What are something that I missed last week that I want to do this week? What is something that's going to bring me back into being present in the moment this week? All of these things are like just like a portion of what I do on a weekly basis. And to me, that really gives me an opportunity to see where I'm stagnating in real time, right? Too many people wait till the end of the year to be like, oh, what did I accomplish this year? And it's like, well, look at the end of each week, look at the end of each month, look at the end of each quarter, whatever it might be, but do it sooner so you can catch that lack or that plateau ahead of time and be like, oh, let's swerve right. Or let's go left. Oh, let's make a change. And it's like as simple as just answering a couple questions for 30 to 45, even 60 minutes at the end of the week. That's going to take you to that next level as a coach and your business. So that's going to be my takeaway is creating like your own CEO hour for yourself, your business, or as a coach.
I'm going to add into that and say that when you're doing that, add an extra step and ask yourself, where do you think you fall short as a coach? Not necessarily saying like try to find like a place to beat yourself up, but look at the conversations you have with your clients. Look at the program that you're giving out. Look at how often you're reaching out to your clients and ask yourself, am I truly being the best coach that I could be? Because one thing that happens, especially when you have coach or clients online and you don't see them face to face, is sometimes things can fall through the cracks without you realizing. One thing that I always do, whether it's on a weekly call or at the end of the month, I will ask my clients, I say, be brutally honest. Is there anything I could have done better this month to help you? And I always finish the call by asking that, because sometimes if I'm not thinking clearly or if I'm scatterbrained, I might have forgotten to do something, or maybe I could have given more attention to one thing or the other. And not only asking yourself these things daily or weekly or whatever it is, it's important to ask somebody else, because where you are like, yeah, I'm checking all my boxes, they might give you another box to make sure you're checking. So ask your clients, what can I do to support you better? Or what can I do to be a better coach for you? Is there anything else? Yeah. And with that, obviously, like, be open-minded, listen to what they say. If they're just like, well, I want you to, like, I don't know, make me dinner every night. Obviously, those are things where you could be like, well, we'll see. But if it's something like, I realized, like, you weren't really reaching out as much this month, and I just need that motivation because, like, I missed a day and you didn't notice. Something like that. Just see where you can improve. Don't be afraid to ask your clients, how can I better serve you as a coach?
Yeah, and I think if you guys want my CEO hour, just drop a comment below or message me on Instagram, and I'll send you like the actual outline I use on a weekly basis, and you guys can kind of like fill it out as you want. But But yeah, I think it's really important. I think what Jerry just said is really important. And I think if you implement those two things today, you're going to be a better coach and you're going to avoid plateauing a lot sooner, or at least see it before it actually happens, right? And the last segment of the day is recommendations or an influence pick, right? We obviously, our goal here at BG Perform is to influence the highest standard of coaching. And I want to give you guys an influence pick. And what the whole idea of this is either a book, a podcast, a essay, a writing, whatever it might be that we think you guys should check out and read in some capacity. We're only going to do this once a month because we don't want to overwhelm you with stuff like that. But what we want to do is give you an opportunity to have something to go read that I personally or Jerry personally took something away from. And mine is the Leonardo da Vinci book. I actually have it right here. Let me grab it.
I love just seeing
So I
that
have
wall and just knowing that he's gonna be like,
what happened?
"Woo!"
Oh,
or
Ric
whatever
Flair?
you say. Yeah.
Ric Flair, baby. Woo! So Leonardo da Vinci by Walter Isaacson. One of the best books ever. It's a thick boy, but
It's a thick boy.
this is easily one of the best books I've ever read, and one of easily my favorite person in the history of the world. And there is so much good in this book that, as someone who loves something, as like loves coaching, it can show you how good it is to just be curious about other things, right? And how good it is to have other things, because Leonardo was somebody who, and that's why I got this tattoo, like after I read this book, because it's just like, to me, this picture, if it wasn't for this, I don't know that like coaching and performance would be what it is today, because Leonardo was somebody who he took what was known as like, obviously pictures and paintings, and really created like a new understanding or aesthetic to the human body from his drawings, right? And it wasn't something that was just a simple, drawing. It was, he took new features from the human body. He did new details on the hair, and like with the Vitruvian Man, it was like a layout of the human body with all the muscles. And he was someone who was an artist, right? Like people know him for The Last Supper, or they know him for the Mona Lisa, right? But he was someone who dissected humans to better learn what they looked like so he could draw them more efficiently in his pictures, right? And that right there to me was like, whoa, like that makes so much sense. And like he changed the way that neck muscles were drawn, and he changed the way that his arms were drawn, or legs were drawn, or the body was drawn. And if you look at the way he was drawing like his paintings progressed from his time in the world, it went from like, basic drawings to like anatomy textbooks. And he literally drew an anatomy textbook at one point, which was like one of the most detailed anatomy textbooks to this day. And it was like such a perfect mix, because he was such a good drawer, right? And an artist.
Biggest takeaway: it's no longer artist; it's arter.
Is arter. An artist. And he was able to kind of draw these pieces of the body and the anatomy to such a detailed level that, obviously, we get today because we have, cameras that can do that sort of thing. But you're talking about a dude who's using like a pencil or whatever the utensil was at the time, ink and whatever pens they had, and they were using like acrylic ink or oil-based paints, and they were just not that great back in the day. And that's why some of his paintings were so crazy, because the quality of them was just not great. They didn't hold up over time because of the types of paints and where they were kept, right? So I could go on talking about this dude all day. But anyways, he was one of the most interesting people in the world. But I think the biggest takeaway is like he went outside of what he did to get better at what he does, right? And he learned from anatomy. And one of the most interesting takeaways I took from this book, and one of the things that like the author, almost did it again. The author wrote in this book was, there was a line in Leonardo's notebook, and Leonardo carried a notebook with him throughout his life, which was just like a little notebook, and he started it at 30. Like he didn't really start writing until he was 30, and I think he had it until he was dead. And he kept writing in the book, remember to look up what a woodpecker's tongue looks like. What does a woodpecker's tongue look like? Woodpecker's tongue. Like he kept writing that in the book. And the reason why was because he was fascinated with the way that the tongue unraveled in their mouth and came back in, and he wanted to draw it. And he wanted to draw it better. And it was just that level of like detail to the things that he paid attention to inside of the world, where it's like nowadays we can see like a hummingbird, or maybe it was a hummingbird. It might have been a hummingbird. One of those two. But like we can see in slow motion what that looks like. Like we can watch the hummingbird's wings flap and it looks slow motion, but you can't really see that in real time. Like you have to be paying attention tremendously at a hummingbird to see like the speed at which its wings are moving, to pay attention to that sort of thing. And it was just like that level of detail that he paid attention to was just unreal. And I need to read this book again now that I'm just like hyping myself up about it. But there's just so much to take away from this and take away from him as a person that I think this is probably, if you take your time and read this, you're going to get a ton out of it.
I like it. I think diving into other hobbies and other things that are completely unrelated to your biggest passions are important for a lot of reasons. One of them being that, yeah, exactly. One of them being that it just helps to drive you to think differently in the area that you're trying to perfect. So like something like human anatomy, right? Like who would have thought dissecting a human would help someone draw better? Because like you don't see all the inside stuff on the outside, especially back then. Like I don't know how many people were shredded beyond belief or had like the perfect physique that you could see striations and muscles, right? So that's something that takes a lot of dedication.
Probably more than
also,
nowadays, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, also back then they didn't really preserve bodies the same, I don't think. So he was going through some stink in order to do so. That speaks volumes.
Yeah.
First of all, the worst smell I've ever smelled in my life was a 2-day-old body being cut open by a kidney researcher in the gross anatomy lab. It wasn't preserved at all. I swear, this room was filled with this odor in less than 5 minutes. And it was the worst. So that speaks volumes to this dude's dedication. So like,
well, that's what they
holy
talked
shit,
about. They talked
that's
about
insane.
in this book, like basically the level he would have to go to because like things would decay. So like, like it was
fast
crazy.
too.
It was crazy.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
If I could have
my
dinner with
pick,
anybody, it would be Leonardo da Vinci.
that's a good person to pick.
Yeah.
I don't know who I would pick. Never mind. My my pick for a tool to kind of use was I personally listen to Chris Williams' podcast called Modern Wisdom, and he has a lot of cool people on there, and he had Jeremy Renner on there, and the episode was how to overcome the worst pain in your life. So if you see that, listen to it. But long story short, Jeremy Renner was up in Lake Tahoe for the holidays, and that's up here in California, about north like 7.5 hours from me. It reminds me a lot of Colorado. It's a mountain town. In the winter, it gets a ton of snow to the point where they had an industrial snowplow, one of the big boys. Like it's something that you'd see them use on like an expressway. Jeremy Renner's nephew got like trapped near it or whatever. Jeremy Renner hopped out to like help his nephew. It was quick. I think he forgot to put it in park or something, if I'm remembering, or he did and it didn't matter because it was so icy. And the snowplow basically ran him over. It's a bit graphic. Like he talks about how he was looking at his own eyeball outside of his head, like that type of like reconstruction necessary. His face was smushed. All of the bones in his face were like crushed.
I didn't know that. Damn.
Yeah, he was like on the verge of dying. He was saved by his neighbors who ran over, called the cops. And he talks about how that changed his view on life. And he always like, he was like obviously training for Avengers. Like I was working out, but I wasn't just working out because I loved it or anything. It was just like, all right, I need to do this. And now he looks at like he's in the cold plunge, the sauna. He's doing multivitamins. He's taking peptides. He's training for health, not just Hollywood looks. He has a very newfound look at life, and it really puts it in perspective. We obviously since the pandemic happened and COVID and everything shut down, the word that year in 2020 was resilience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have the resilience, push through, like we're going to be able to be fine. We'll be okay. And it's been something that we've talked about for a while, and not falling into this like soft mindset of just like giving up. Be resilient, push through, do what you need to do. And this takes it to the new level because this dude, like I said, was staring at his eyeball outside of his head. Like that's a type of like, he was so close. I think he died and they brought him back to life a few times. So him going through that, it took an event like that for him to realize like, I need to bring my life from here to here in terms of like health and wellness. And I think it's really important to listen to because it puts your problems in perspective, whether you're dealing with something at home, at work, with friends and family, whatever your hardships might be, it really puts it in perspective that it could be so much worse.
Yeah.
And that you should be grateful for the things that you do have. And I think that podcast, listening to him talk about his hardships that he went through and how it reshaped the way that he views life, is powerful, beautiful, motivating, and captivating in the way that he tells it too. So I couldn't recommend listening to that more because that is as a freak accident, and he's very, very lucky to be alive. He says it a million times. And I think even myself, like, I don't know, Brandon, if I ever told you, I almost died in the hospital when I had my heart surgery. Yeah, like I almost bled out in the hospital. That day, I looked at my mom and my eyes were closing. And I remember saying, I'm scared. She said, you're fine. Don't worry. And in that moment, I accepted death. And then I was able to live. And I was like, holy shit, I got to do things. Like, this isn't good. So, like, that kind of, like, touched a place in my heart, too, where I know what it's like to have that, like, near-death experience. And it's eye-opening, man. Like, we just need to look at things a little bit differently. Sometimes step back, get a bird's eye view or something, you know?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think a lot of that stuff is really important, and I think it can help with coaching, right? And I think even looking at that from a perspective of like how does this help us with coaching? It's just like, be grateful to coach, be grateful to have people who trust in you, be grateful to have people who wake up excited to see you and wake up excited to do your training. Mm-hmm. And that's it, you know? And I think just ending it with that is great. And I think if you're a coach who feels like they're plateauing, like this episode is going to give you a lot of direction and drive to help you put you in the right places, doing the things that you need to do. And I think that's it. And I hope this helps. And I think that's it. But to close out the episode, we've got a couple things to talk about, right? We're going to go to www.worldmmaawards.com/vote. Vote for your boy. Go make an account. Go click my pretty face. You don't even have to look at the other people on there because who gives a shit about them? We have to go. My face is the first one. You don't even have to go past mine. Just click on login to vote. Hit my name. It'll be green. It'll say you voted. Post it on social media. Let me know you did it. And we got, I think, a couple more weeks, maybe like 11 more days until the voting closes for that. So we got to definitely like pick it up here. And then outside of that, the new ebook that I just launched for creating goals is on my website. So www.bgperform.com/goals. You can go and download the new free ebook, How to Choose a Worthy Goal, or the name of the ebook itself is Why Goals Change Everything. And the main idea of that is using my fight camp mentality to kind of create I wouldn't say a sped up process, but a more efficient process for you to choose a goal, choose how you want to get there, decide what you're going to do to make it, build your camp, understand the agreement that you're going to set with yourself, and get the results you need, and then build those habits to create sustainable training within your life. So I'm really excited about that. It's really good. I can't tell you more. I can't tell you enough about how happy I am with how it came out. Last two things, I got YouTube video coming out soon. I'll probably already be out by the time we post this for my seminar with Shots Boxing, and then a day in the life is going to be coming out the week following on Friday. So a lot of stuff coming out. Just giving you guys a little refresher at the end of this episode. I appreciate and love all you guys for tuning in if you've listened this far, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.